welcome to the Vlogging Pod. Today, I want to talk to you about what I think of as an exhaustive phase of power. That's the phase where an administration governs not through legitimacy or consent, but through friction, by pushing boundaries, daring institutions to stop them, and relying on the idea that people will become exhausted, confused, or demoralized before systems fully respond. This phase always feels endless, and it's the one many of us feel stuck in right now. But it's also a phase where cracks begin forming that can't be fully patched over. Let's take a minute to talk about the midterms, voter suppression attempts, mail-in interference, redistricting, and institutional sabotage, often discussed as if elections hinge on one single lever. They don't. Elections in the United States rely on many decentralized systems. Courts, states, local officials, civil servants, and even internal fractures within the ruling party all play roles. That decentralization is actually why elections are harder to completely break than they appear. It doesn't guarantee fairness and a moral sense, but it does make it extremely difficult to nullify outcomes nationwide without triggering legal and constitutional collision that can't simply be ignored. So when the head of this administration says we shouldn't have midterms, of course it's alarming. And yes, anything said by this administration carries the risk of becoming an attempt at reality. But structurally, it's far harder to execute than it sounds. Now, let's talk about immunity. And we know a lot of federal agencies seem to be throwing that around because it's where a lot of misinformation lives. Immunity is not absolute. Even when immunity doctrines are expanded, rhetorically or legally, they protect actions taken within lawful authority. They do not permanently shield criminal conduct once political protections disappear. History shows this repeatedly. When administrations change, investigations that once seemed impossible often become viable. Not immediately, not cleanly, and not without resistance, but they do happen. So when you hear statements pointing out that officials don't actually have blanket immunity, those statements may feel hollow in the moment, but they're laying legal groundwork, even when it feels slow and deeply unsatisfying. That groundwork matters. What makes this moment feel uniquely unbearable? The cruelty is overt and normalized. It isn't hidden. We're just watching policy disagreements. We're watching harm justified in real time. Institutions hesitate, and leaders openly admit that accountability would threaten them. That kind of environment and psychological is corrosive. It wears people down and keeps the nervous system in a constant state of alarm. In my opinion, there isn't going to be one single event that causes a clean snapback to normal, or what we ever assumed normal. What happens instead is a gradual loss of control. Fewer wins, more resistance, slower momentum, more legal challenges that stick, more public officials refusing to cooperate, more exposure. Brutality doesn't escalate forever, fingers crossed. Eventually it becomes unsustainable because it requires constant force, constant justification, and constant fear. That's not a stable way to govern. So how much longer will this last? Probably longer than you or I want, but hopefully not forever. Getting through this phase isn't about watching every atrocity or carrying every injustice until we break. It's about choosing where we stay informed and where to step back and where to step forward, so we remain engaged without collapsing. As a podcaster, I won't tell you that everything will be okay, because I don't have that information. What I will tell you is this. The fact that this administration relies on intimidation emergency rhetoric, and procedural sabotage instead of consent is in itself a sign of fragility, not strength. Power is truly secure, it does not behave this way. So when I talk about the exhaustive phase of power, I'm not saying they're strong. I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying they are burning power just to maintain the appearance of control. And from this one person's podcast point of view, that doesn't look sustainable. But let me be clear. Losing power doesn't mean an administration becomes less dangerous in the short term. In fact, it often becomes more erratic and more cruel during these phases, precisely because it feels like the ground is shifting beneath us. That's what makes this moment so frightening. It's the flailing stage, not the stable one. Today's sources come from election administration at the state and local level. www.ncsl.org. States, not the president, run elections in America. BrennanCenter.org. How the U.S. decentralized election system makes voter fraud rare. Euronews.com. Qualified immunity. Law.cornell.edu. Are federal officials immune from state prosecution? Lawfaremedia.org. The U.S. election system is secure. Matternews.org. Thank you for listening. Until the next time, bye-bye for now.